All right, welcome back to the Jazz Piano School podcast. I'm your host as always, Brendan Lowen. Thank you so much for being here. This is going to be episode number 160. Now, one of our fine teachers within Jazz Piano School, Sterling Koza, is going to be giving you this lesson. He's going to be talking to you about how to practice like a pro. Now, I do this, Sterling says he does this, and I think almost everybody out there does this because it's very hard to break out of this habit, and that is sitting down at the piano and just noodling, right? Just playing for fun, right? But not really practicing. So we really need to make a clear distinction between when we're practicing and when we're just kind of playing for fun, right? Expressing our soul, right? So Sterling's going to talk to you and teach you about the things that you can do to ensure when you're playing pieces, you're actually practicing the pieces instead of kind of just playing through them, noodling, and just having a good time. So a lot of amazing information in this particular podcast episode. So with that being said, let's dive right into this lesson.
Hey everybody, this is Sterling Koza here with this week's podcast. Today is going to be the first installment of the series, How to Practice Like a Pro. Now in this series, we're going to be going over some ways that you can optimize your practice routine and get the most out of the hours that you're spending in the practice room. My goal is to hopefully share some experience that I've gained over my time of just spending a lot of hours in the practice room, not really knowing what I'm doing, and it's easy to get frustrated when you're sitting there kind of going, what should I be working on, or how can I be better at this? So hopefully you can benefit from some of the tips that we've got for you in store in this series. So as you can see, I've got my shorts out. It's summer weather, so just in case you're wondering what my legs look like, here they are, getting kind of a tan going, so working on that, but don't be alarmed. So here we go, let's get into it. Here's this podcast. So for today, we're talking about if I were playing the tune All the Things You Are, if I was working on this. There's a kind of a bad habit that I've gotten into in the past that I wanted to share with you guys today. So if I were playing this tune and I kind of just sat down and started playing, it would sound sort of like this. So that's all well and good. That would sound okay if I was just kind of noodling around, maybe at a solo piano gig or something. But in terms of really focused practice, there are some aspects of what I was doing that are really missing something. And the thing I want to talk to you about today is time. Now time is one of the most crucial parts about playing jazz and playing in a band with other people, because it's an essential aspect of communication, rhythm, time. And if I'm practicing and I'm not really kind of playing in time, if I'm not really playing in time, there's really something missing. And when I go to play with other people, or I go to play a gig, and I need to start playing in time, I'm not going to have the things together that I need to have. So my message to you today is that I've been in kind of a bad habit of sort of practicing sort of out of time and noodling. I mean, it's good to play freely and rubato sometimes, but we need to do it with intention. And I once heard a great teacher tell me, you're going to practice how you play. So if you want to play and be able to play well in time, that's the way you should practice. So when you go to practice, it's important to have a specific focus in mind. If my focus is playing with good time, then I'm probably going to pull out a metronome and be very strict with it. But when you go to play tunes, it's good to get in the habit of always playing in time, because the lines that you're going to play are going to work better in the long run if you're always playing them in time, unless of course your intention is otherwise, is to not play in time. But there are certain aspects of the other type of practice where it's a little more exploratory that I think have good reason to not play in time. And let's talk about a few of those. So again, these are aspects of kind of this sort of bad habit that I'd gotten into, of just kind of exploring. And exploration isn't always bad. I often encourage people in these podcasts to explore and find aspects of the piano and your own playing that you haven't maybe seen before, and exploration is an important part of that. But it's important to differentiate. So if you're just exploring a specific tonality, for example, like take each chord of All the Things You Are. So that's me kind of exploring each one of those chords. It wasn't necessarily in time, but I was just taking each chord and sort of going through the tonality and finding some different shapes or voicings. Now this is all well and good, but when it comes to actually being able to play the tune and play it in time, it's not exactly my main focus. So if you want to explore in your improvising, I highly recommend doing it in time, because then when you go to play it in real time with people, it's going to serve you much better. So you can just stay on one chord, but have a time feel in it. We'll go to the next chord. When I go to actually play the tune, I can implement some of the stuff that I've been working on in time. Alright, next we're going to talk about another pitfall that I think I've fallen into this habit, and maybe some people can identify with this. When you are practicing your improvising in time, it's easy to get into the habit of stopping and starting. And what I mean by this is, if you're in the middle of a tune and you're going for a specific lick, if you make a mistake, it's easy to want to stop and start again. And this has to do with just keeping the time flow going. Here's what I mean. Now, if I mess that up and I want to go, I might do it a few times. So if you interrupt the flow of your improvising habitually over and over again, it's really going to get in the way of when you go to improvise on the gig, the band is not going to wait for you. So it's imperative that when you practice how you want to play. So never interrupt the flow. We've talked about flow before. There's a previous podcast called the 8th note exercise, which talks about flow, where you're keeping a continuous strain of 8th notes. Sort of like that. But if you're interrupting that flow, that flow when you go to improvise, it's going to sound like you're sort of hiccuping or, getting a little off. So what you want to do is keep that flow going, keep that time going, and never interrupt it if you're playing. So again, practice how you want to play. Alright, well that's enough that we covered today. We're talking about time feel, we're talking about flow, so always keeping that flow going. And the message really for today is practice how you want to play. So sound in the practice room how you want to sound on the gig. If you're just kind of noodling and not really totally in time, it's going to be a little more difficult to pull out the time when the time comes for the gig. So sound how you want to sound on the day of the gig, and you really can't go wrong. So today the message is time. Alright, well, we'll see you next time, and good luck practicing with some of this time feel. Use some of your favorite tunes. All the Things You Are is a great tune. Use some challenging tunes that you maybe need a little more work on, and see how it goes. Alright, thanks. We'll see you next time.
All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that lesson from Sterling Koza. We're going to have a lot more new information coming to you guys. We're going to have some different teachers on here giving you guys some podcast episodes. And again, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we release a new podcast episode every single week with audio and video. We also release a new lick of the week every single Monday. And check out our blog at jazzpianoschool.com. So with that being said, have a fantastic day and happy practicing.